Munch wrote on one print of the lithograph Execution from 1929 the words "Execution of Communists in Finland," thus directly linking the subject matter to the events of the bloody Finnish Civil War in 1918. Following a political crisis punctuated by strikes, unrest and terrorist attacks, the conflict had arisen between the civilian government that had fled Helsinki and the radical socialists who had led the revolution and established an independent government in the capital. The government in exile quickly recruited a large army among peasants and young bourgeois intellectuals called the Hunters, or the Whites. The socialists raised their own troops among the Red Guards and the Russian Revolutionary Forces, the Reds. The Whites quickly went on the attack and succeeded in taking the capital after 4 months. 8,000 Red soldiers were executed after more or less cursory trials, and 10,000 of them were killed in prison camps. News of the war in Finland and its sinister mass executions marked public opinion in Norway, all the more because it was a neighboring country. The motive of execution must have seemed both tempting to Munch as well as challenging due to its recollections of well-known pictures by Goya and Manet. In an exhibition catalogue from 1918, Munch made a small sketch depicting an execution. The firing squad, with backs turned, occupies the foreground, while the victim sits down against the wall in the background. The same motif appears in a larger charcoal drawing. Munch also returns to the motive more than 10 years later, perhaps after having leafed through old magazines and illustrated books of the war years. One day in the autumn of 1918, he bought a book, 2 copies to be exact, which included a large collection of photographs of the Finnish Civil War. The book had been published in the summer of 1918 and sold for the benefit of disabled veterans, widows and orphans of the White Army from the West. It includes the photograph of an execution that appears summary. The victims are lined up on a snowy field, and only the barrel of one of the firing squad's rifles can be seen. The photograph was taken just a few seconds after the shooting. When looking at the line of victims, it appears that Munch picked out certain figures and used them in the same poses in his lithograph, such as the man standing stiff with fear, with his hands to his head, the figure lying to the side with his knees in the air, and the figure slightly further down the line, seen from the back. Photographs and drawings of this kind could be found in several weekly magazines. The photograph of an execution in Serbia, published in the English magazine The Graphic in November 1914, recalls Munch's lithograph, as much due to the composition and diagonal framing as to the building with the 2 rectangular windows. The final composition of the lithograph is a very different one to that of the 1918 drawings, and is closer to a photograph or a journalistic drawing. The head and the arm of the soldier holding the weapon, as well as the hand drawing the sword in the foreground, gives the viewer a feeling of being both a witness to the cruelty and a member of the firing squad.